Ladies and gentlemen, adventurers near and far, welcome to another broadcast from Point Noir, home of the Point Noir podcast, where we equip and inspire men of color to go out and see the world for themselves. We do this in two ways: by inviting amazing men of color to share their unique perspectives on travel and adventuring, and then we also equip men of color by sponsoring one man every single month to get his passport every single month. We've been doing it for 8 months straight. It's super exciting, a core mission of this show. So if that sounds like you or somebody you know, hit us up, follow us on IG. All the instructions are there. And if you're really lost, slide in those DMs. We want to help you. That all being said, this is your host, your humble tour guide through this experience, Jerry the Third, aka Kimono Jack, and I'm thrilled you're here with us for our 33rd session of the Point Noir podcast. It's going to be an amazing one. And already, if you're listening to the show and you're not subscribed on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to do that, because last night we released our brand new mini-series called The Adventurer's Playbook, and it's basically breaking down the mindset and some of the key ideas to keep in mind when you're going out to adventure. We don't always have time to dive in depth with them on the show because we have so much to talk about with our guests, so this is just going to be a little segment hosted by yours truly again, Kimono Jack, where I just break down from my experience, from our guest experience, some of these larger topics and ideas behind adventuring and being successful. Again, more tools to add to your toolbox so you can be successful with your next trip. And if you happen to be making a trip to Dallas this week, this is going to be a very regionally specific plug again, but February 10th, Dallas, Texas, Journey to the Point is going to be our very first travel event. We're going to start with a vision board segment so we can see and visualize where we want to go in 2019. We're going to have a travel workshop, getting you from A to B in all your travel goals, step by step. And then we're going to have an expert panel, and we're going to feature some former guests from the show who are actually flying into town just to be there for the event, to support and to answer all of your questions in addition to being on the panel. So it's going to be a great event. It's going to be music. It's going to be drinks. We have some amazing travel raffle prizes for you. It's going to be an excellent opportunity to network and meet other people, especially if you're in the Dallas area. So get hip. Check us out on Eventbrite, pointnoirtraveldreams.eventbrite.com, or check out the Get Tickets link in our bio on Instagram at Point Noir Show on IG. That all being said, let's introduce today's special guest, and I'll see you on the flip side. Joining us today as our special guest at the Point is Jermaine Middleton. We're going to do something a little bit different this time. If you want to learn more about him and what he's up to, go to summit413.com. And if you want to reach out to Jermaine directly, email him at info@summit413.com. His Instagram is also summit413, but those first two ways were probably more important, and I won't ruin the surprise for what this young man is up to. Needless to say, he is a trailblazer in his own right and is attempting to make history this year in 2019. So I'm honored that we got to speak with him as he's on this journey, that he spent some time with us here at the Point. We talk about men of color being outdoors, the benefits from just being outside and in nature, and he also shares his tips on how you too can get involved in nature and experience some of the benefit of it in a safe and relatively controlled way. So again, this brother's up to big things, and I'm not going to waste any more time just gassing it up. You guys are going to love this session. So grab a refreshing beverage of choice. You guys know the drill. Find that cozy, comfy Point Noir listening chair. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb because you don't need any distractions. And be prepared to enjoy today's session. What's going on, Jermaine? Welcome to the Point Noir podcast. Thank you for joining us. How are you feeling today, bro?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, man. We're all about collecting, interesting perspectives, men of color who travel, and I know you definitely have some interesting things to share with us.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited about, the opportunity to share, man, and especially with your format, you know what I mean? A lot of times it's abbreviated and you can't really kind of go in depth and stuff like that, so I'm really excited about the opportunity just to kind of dive in a little bit deeper than I usually get to.
Hey, man, that's what we're here for, and we got not all the time in the world, but we got some time to kind of lay it all out there. And one thing that really attracted me to your profile, I think is first off, it's outdoors things. And I grew up in the outdoors a little bit, hiking, canoeing, rafting, mountain climbing a little bit. And whenever I see men of color doing that on Instagram, I'm like, yo, I need to figure out what his story is. And you're doing it in kind of a big way. So why don't you tell us, where you're from, how you grew up, and what got you into adventuring. Well, we'll say adventuring rather than traveling for now.
Yeah, I definitely consider myself an adventurer, man. So I'm glad you made that distinction. So I grew up in pretty much the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up in Cobb County, and honestly, man, like the way that I usually put it is that I haven't grown up from being a kid, and a lot of stuff that I do now is stuff that I saw when I was a kid and said I want to do. And basically, I had some pretty. My parents are, very interesting individuals. I consider them very normal, but in the terms of how they raised me, I wouldn't say it's extremely normal, especially within the Black community, in the sense that they let me pretty much do and try whatever I saw. You know what I mean? So I used to race BMX
Mm-hmm.
bikes as a kid. You know what I mean? So in elementary school, and I remember finding a book. I had to pick a book in the library one day, and I picked a book that had a bicycle on it, and it just happened to be a BMX racing book, right? And so I took that book home. I rented it, took it home to my parents, and I was like, "Hey, man, I want to do this thing." And I'm like, okay, so they helped me find a place where I can do that. And so like
Yeah.
that's kind of what my parents did for me is they allowed me to whatever piqued my interest. They allowed me just to kind of dive in and explore. And so like I said, man, I just never stopped from that point. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
watching the Discovery Channel and seeing people, in the ocean and saying, man, I want to do that one day. Seeing documentaries about Mount Everest and seeing people climb and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so, just been an adventurer, man. And so that's kind of, I guess, what started it and kind of what's kept it going. It's just that from a very early age, I've been interested in a lot of those different things. And basically, as I've grown and become an adult, more and more stuff is possible.
That's so cool, bro. And I can relate to being in a fortunate situation where my parents let me explore in a similar way, kind of whatever I was into or interested in, they supported 100%. And we didn't have a ton of everything, but we had enough for me to at least see if I was interested in learning more about sports or, even reading. My parents kept me in books. So I can definitely relate to being inspired by, stories in all kinds of formats.
Yeah, good stuff.
Was there any moment that stuck out to you as a child saying, hey, you know what? I think I can keep doing this for the rest of my life, or you just never stopped adventuring and essentially being a kid?
Yeah, I kind of never stopped, man. I don't. There's been moments in my life where I know that I said I couldn't do the opposite, where I can't not live life the way that I do. But yeah, that's
Right.
pretty much ingrained in who I am, man. So I mean, I'm the family daredevil, and I've been that way since I can move. You know what I mean? Like I was literally the kid. If you walked outside, it wouldn't be surprised, for my parents to see me stand on the roof getting ready to jump off of it. You know what I mean? Like I would make parachutes with trash bags and jump off the roofs. I mean, since I can move, doing wheelies on bicycles, racing other kids, anything to get your adrenaline pumping and that kind of crazy stuff, that's just been me. So, yeah.
Right. Right. You ever tried to jump out of a tree with an umbrella thinking you just land gently?
Yeah, funny thing about that. So I was watching drag racing, right?
Right.
And, every neighborhood, all the fortunate kids, have a neighborhood that has a big hill in it. You know what I mean? I pretty much, when you
Mm-hmm.
say a big hill to somebody, everybody knows what that is, right? So I was on a big hill and
Everybody
I was
knows the
watching
big
drag
hill.
racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching drag racing, right? And so they were, drag racing cars, they had the parachutes that come out the back to slow down. So I got the bright idea that I'm going to go down the big hill on my bicycle and use the umbrella as my parachute.
Hmm.
Needless to say, that didn't that didn't end too well. But yeah,
Dude, I love it. I love it. I'm actually remembering stories from my own childhood experience, and that's a great feeling. So thank you for taking me back to those fond memories of just doing shit. It would snow outside, we'd jump off the roof. We'd be like, yeah, it's the best time to do it.
exactly.
Very much so. So we're going to fast forward because I know you have a grand ambition that you were trying to execute. So I want you to talk about that, and then we're going to just weave all in between and learn about how you got there and dig some more into your adventure story. So what's the big goal that you're out here trying to do right now, Jermaine?
All right, sounds good. So my present goal, man, is called Summit 413.
Mm,
Basically, just put a name on my biggest passion project to date, and essentially trying to climb Mount Everest in just a few months, actually. So attempting to be the first American-born Black man to climb Mount Everest. A big part of that is raising money for charities here in the Atlanta area, and actually just got done leaving a volunteer event with one of the organizations that I'm hopefully raising money towards. But that's the big thing, man. So Summit 413, climbing Mount Everest. It's kind of been when I came up with the idea last year, I kind of structured in a lot of different things. Because again, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to expose people to different things. Whether it's just, whatever your background is, I wanted to expose people to a different side of life, especially coming from a Black man's perspective.
right.
And, I just want to show people different things. So as part of what Summit 413 was supposed to consist of is, an Ironman triathlon, skydiving from 29,000 feet, scuba diving, and doing some other things as well. But, as part of the journey, stuff happens, life happens. And I got injured pretty early on in the process. I fractured my fibula
Mm.
and, wasn't able to do the race. Probably not going to be able to do the skydive. I'm still trying to potentially work that out. Was able to do some of the scuba diving stuff, obviously, because that doesn't have the same, stress on the legs. But been doing a lot of climbing, man. It's been a great experience the past 6 months. I've been climbing in France, climbed Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, which was an amazing experience. I've been climbing in Washington State, and in just about a week and a half from now, I'll be headed back down to Argentina to climb Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain outside of the Himalaya. And I'll be doing that. And then the end of March is when I'll head to Nepal to start the journey to climb Mount Everest.
Wow, bro. Just you're going to be the first black man to climb Everest?
First American born black man. So it's a very
Okay.
technical way of putting it. So according to my research and all the research that I got some other people to join me on, and kind of when I first went into it, contacted the Himalayan database, and they essentially have like the biggest database of people that have climbed Everest. One of the
Yes.
things about them though is they don't track by ethnicity. It's usually nationality, age, sex, all that kind of stuff. But they don't track by ethnicity. But just given the fact that there aren't a lot of black people that have climbed Mount Everest, they pretty much were able to say, we can point you in this direction. Here's what we have, and here's what you can work with, or whatever. And so, according to my research, there's been a guy from South Africa that's done it. He was the first black person to do so. There's an American, Sophia Dannenberg, and she is the first African American to do so back in 2006. And there's a Jamaican American, his name is Rohan Freeman, I believe, and he did it. I'm not sure what year, but yeah. So the technicality is that again, being the first American-born black man to do it, and so I think again, according to my research, I'd be the fourth black person in history to do it, which to me kind of blows my mind, man. When I found that out, it's kind of like really like there hasn't been, the fact that somebody that looks like me hasn't done it yet to me is just kind of alarming, but also exciting at the same time, especially the fact that it's 2019 and you can still do original things.
Yeah, bro, shake that shit up. Like I didn't exactly realize all the technicalities in it, but dude, that's a big deal for you to be essentially a trailblazer in this day and age when we're discovering so many new things so quickly. Like this is your body, this is the elements, this is one of the oldest activities humans and people have ever engaged in. And you're about to break new ground there, man. Like I'm super proud of you. That's awesome.
I appreciate it, man. I'm excited, really excited.
I'm thinking you have to be, bro. Like that's a it's Mount Everest. It's no joke. People still are risking their lives to go up there. So let's work that a little bit backwards because I know there's elements of travel. You told me you had a trip coming up out of the country to prepare for this. So let's talk about black people and the outdoors a little bit because there aren't a lot of us climbing mountains. There aren't a lot of men of color in their 20s and 30s who are just hiking recreationally. And what has your experience been being exposed to these environments and kind of being the odd person out, or you've always been surrounded by outdoorsy people?
Yeah, so definitely always been the odd person out, man. That's just kind of a running joke. I went to Canada like a week and a half ago, and fortunately, it was me and three other friends, and one of the other guys on the trip was my other, it's another black guy, and he and I traveled a good bit of places together. But we were laughing. It's like, yeah, me and you are gonna be talking this week. And I kid you
Mm.
not, we arrived on Monday and we didn't see another black person until I want to say Thursday evening or something like that. And so you know how that thing goes, man. Just doing stuff that's different. So being outdoors, you know what I mean? When I was a kid, again, racing BMX bicycles, I was like the only black kid at the track. You know what I mean? And so going hiking or whatever the case may be, I was always that kid. And my parents just made fun of him. Like, man, you gonna make us drive out here where there's no other black people or whatever. That was just kind of a reoccurring thing. So I think from an
Right.
early age, you kind of get used to it because you put yourself in a really unique spot, right? Because you're not, you know, white, so you stand out when you go there with them, but you also stand out from the other black people that aren't interested or think what you're doing is weird. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of different, emotions kind of stem from that. But when you do well in it, you kind of get your own, I guess you find your confidence in that. And so, you earn respect kind of from everybody. You know what I mean? And so you get older and everybody's like, man, you're cool. You done X, Y, and Z. Like, yeah, I would never do that. I'm like, yeah, because you never, thought to try that. You know what I mean? And at the same time, you're making new, relationships, bridging gaps, people that may not have ever, met a black person in person. You know what I mean? To me, that's crazy when you meet somebody and say like, man, I've never really met a black person. I think there may have been, one black kid in my middle school and that was it. You know what I mean? Like to think
Yeah.
that that still happens is crazy to me. But yes, I mean, you get exposed to a lot of different things, and one of the things that got me out in the outdoors a lot was snowboarding, and
Mm.
think this is like my 10-year anniversary for that. So going out west to Colorado, and again being from Atlanta, where kind of like I don't want to, I don't know if we can claim the black capital of America, but we're definitely
Oh,
in
the
the top.
Southeast for sure. The
Top.
Southeast.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, everybody we see, is black. So you kind of get used to that, except, again, when you're going off that beaten path, when you're going to certain trails, when you're going hiking or whatever. But even still, like that's starting to improve. You're starting to see more people, trying new activities and doing things like that. But once you get out of Georgia and you find yourself in those spaces, you're definitely, kind of the odd man out. But again, I've always had positive experiences, so I can't really say that I don't, just kind of make the best of what it is. Yes, sometimes it is awkward or it's different, but again, like I said, it's always been positive experiences for me. So I've used that opportunity to kind of just engage and connect with people that I wouldn't have otherwise or whatever.
Bro, that's so awesome, and I relate to that on a few levels. And shout out to you for being able to find that sense of security in your own identity. Because growing up from the suburbs, having two black kids in my middle school, and growing up in predominantly white areas, that's a struggle. Sometimes my dad used to say, you're going to have an issue. You're going to need to figure out where you stand because you're going to never be accepted by white people, and you're probably going to seem too white to most black people. So you need to understand this struggle is ahead of you and really figure out who you are.
Yeah. And yeah, it's all we're on similar paths, man. But
Really, this is cool, man, because I get to ask you any question I want, and I think this is such a unique perspective that not a lot of people here in general. So this is going to be a lit interview, and I wanted to ask you because I feel like you're well read. You said you're talking about history books and looking up all these other people of color who've climbed Everest. But how familiar are you with the heritage of Black people in the States in terms of the outdoors? Because the really funny thing to me is that Black people shy away from being outdoors, but you look at the original cowboys, you look at the Seminole tribes, indigenous tribes mixed with Black people. They were the best outdoors. You know what I'm saying? They were the best trackers. They were the best hunters. How have you, how much of that history have you become aware of or identified with in kind of your modern pursuit of similar things?
yeah, so yeah, I'll be honest about that, man. I When it comes to reading, I'm very, I guess, particular, if you will, just because I look at most of everything as an opportunity cost, just because of just the way my life is structured, right? So literally choosing to do one thing over the other, like I have to process that and make stuff make sense. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's just kind of where I am in life. And so when it comes to history, I look at history a lot that pertains to, what I'm doing, what I plan on doing, if that makes any sense. So whether it's a business venture or something like that that I think will apply to me directly, or overall lesson I think is really important, I try to dive into that. But I do read a lot more current stuff, if that makes sense. But when it comes to, specifically what you asked about history of, Black people in the outdoors, it's something that you kind of have to dig for, and I have
Yeah.
been doing that more so in recent years than I have in the past. And so learning about, and that's another thing as well that I've appreciated, is through different documentaries and people being more open to talk about diversity in the outdoors. It's opened up a lot of different history that I had no idea about. And I'm terrible with names, and thinking about people like the first black guy that climbed Denali in Alaska, so the highest mountain in North America. Like I know a black guy did that a significant amount of time ago. You know what I mean? That was again, I can't put a year on, but I know it was a lot longer than I would have expected. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so, just learning about stuff like that and people like him has definitely been an inspiration, but also showed me just a lack of knowledge, but also at the same time why it is important to kind of share your story. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered the question entirely, but yeah, I'm terrible when it comes to reading about history and stuff like that. I'll be honest, man, I'll throw this out there because I'm a pretty candid kind of guy. But a lot of things that I tell my, friends and family and stuff, it's like, again, opportunity costs. And additionally, it's like my goal is to more so live a life that's worthy of being written about than just to read about other people that have lived great lives. And not to diminish the value of education, because again, I am, I consider myself a life student along with learning, getting ready to actually enter an MBA program. And so I have a lot of value in learning. But like I said, for me, it usually is a very specific need. If I'm going to take away that time to study something or read something, it's going to be a very specific need that I'm trying to fill as opposed to just out of, having that time. Because again, just where I am in life right now, time it just isn't, it's not prevalent. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
That makes perfect sense, bro. And even if it was, around reading or educating yourself or gardening, like whatever the hell you wanted it to be, if people were that decisive and intentional about where they spent their energy, I think a lot of them would realize they'd be in much further places than they ever imagined. So, I mean, I definitely get the need to focus, and, diverting your energy where it's going to serve you best for the things you have coming up.
Yeah, if you can remember, because my brain goes a million places, but bring that up when we get to, I guess, talking more specifically about traveling, because I had a conversation with somebody in relation to that recently, and I thought that I made an interesting connection there. But
Okay, I'm gonna see what my brain does because no scripted questions on here. So let's see where we go in 30 minutes. I'm excited, man. Um, Dope, man. So let's talk on this because I do want to talk about travel, and I think it's amazing to hear the perspective of somebody who travels in such a specific way. You travel for a specific purpose, in relation to climbing and training. So why do you think most people of color, and we'll say men of color, don't go outdoors? And what do you think is out there for them that would benefit them?
so I think the answer to that is just a lot of it is exposure, but not only exposure, but I guess the confidence to act those things out, right? So in today's day and age, everybody is able to see certain things. Just because you see something doesn't mean that it's a real thing for you. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I think that's a big part of it. And again, so I have to give my parents credit for getting behind me and saying, hey, go do this, try something different. You'll enjoy it, and supporting those ideas. Because I remember very specifically when I was a kid and saying, hey, and your friends are like, hey, why you want to do that? That's not, white people do that. Black people don't do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I had to have that drive past it to even once that idea is sparked to go past it and actually pursue it, if that makes sense. So I think a
Yeah.
big part of it is just people lacking that support system behind them that says that you should go try to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
again, so I think it is a combination of just exposure and just the knowledge that all these things are out there because, a lot of people do have access to the internet and stuff nowadays. So you can literally look and sit for hours about different things. But if you don't see somebody like yourself doing it, you don't necessarily think that, hey, I can do this too. You know what I mean? So if I see somebody on a yacht, I'm not going to then say I can go get a yacht right now. To me, that's, it's kind of too far removed from where you are to put
Right.
yourself in that position. Right. So you need to have something that somebody says that, hey, what's the process of getting a yacht? Here's how most people actually do it. Here's how you can rent a yacht and go be on it for a couple of days as opposed to spending $100 million or whatever. You know what I mean? That's a more practical path that people just aren't usually exposed to. I feel like I missed the second part of that question. Can you refresh me if you remember?
It's okay. We'll get there. Let's unpack this a little bit more. I think you're absolutely right. For the majority, for the masses to get on board, it really helps to see that image of yourself in the situation. Now, there are others like yourself, like what you're doing with climbing Everest. To some extent, what this podcast represents is there's no other show like this, but you have the ability to foresee yourself in that situation, even though you haven't really seen many examples. So I think, people who lead the edge like yourself, they open up the floodgates for everybody else, the masses, to kind of get on board.
Definitely. So, like, I can think about that, how that applies to me practically. Like, my nieces and nephews, I think my nephew just turned 14 this past year, right? And my
Mm-hmm.
niece is like 12 and the younger one is 10. But I've had them out on trail since they were like 5. You know what I mean? Like I've
Mm.
had them climbing mountains in Georgia since they were little kids. Like if they're hanging out with Uncle Maine, like that's what we're doing. They're never going to be doing something outdoors, going rock climbing or doing something different than what, they would normally be doing with their parents. Right. So even within my own family, like my sister, she is somewhat outdoorsy because I push her to that regard. But, the reality is if I'm not around, they're not going to go find some trail somewhere. But when I go visit them in Virginia where they live, like today we're going to hang out. All right, let's go find this trail and go check out this waterfall or something. You know what I mean? So having that in their lives or that person that, again, kind of pushes them to try something. Again, they've been exposed to it, right? They've seen it on TV, Discovery Channel, whatever. But again, they have that, got to have that person that's, again, a little bit more intentional about getting you to try something. And they love it now. You know what I mean? So that's something that's a regular thing. Like they'll ask me, when are we going out? Like, when can we go to the rock climbing gym? We love it there. Like, you know, that's our favorite place or whatever. So again, it's that, uh, the exposure to it, the idea of it, but then also, the confidence that you can go out, that you can do it. It's not just some other kid or some other person that can do it, but somebody that looks or is like you that can.
100%. And as they grow up, as they have opportunities, to do new experiences, whether that be, a random hiking club when they move to their own cities, or, an opportunity to, expose their own family to it, they might take you up on that because they've been exposed so closely to someone who is so passionate and so sincere about their interest in it. Like, that's super dope, bro. And the second part of that question I was asking you was, what's the benefit of being outdoors? What do you think people of color have to gain from spending the time out in the wilderness without Wi-Fi, without cell service, without their laptops and TV? What's out there for people? What can they get from spending time in
Man,
the wilderness?
I don't even know if I can answer that question, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Your listeners can take this how they want to take it, but I consider myself one of the happiest people I know. It's not just because of the outdoors. There's multiple reasons in that, but the outdoors is a huge part of that, man. And so just being able to disconnect from the world and just appreciate nature, experiencing things that are just truly unique and truly beautiful. The images that you see on the internet, like you can't fathom what standing on the peak of a mountain looks like as opposed to looking at the picture. Like the difference in that is astronomical. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah,
experiencing those landscapes, seeing those unique places, just the silence and the stillness of it, whether it's in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere at night and seeing a million stars in the sky, like you literally can barely see a blank patch of sky, or you know what I mean? Or some crazy, glacier or something like that. Like you can't, it just does stuff to you. You know what I'm saying? Like it just moves your soul. And so I think
yeah,
on a grander scale, you have that stuff, but on the daily, even the some people may consider mundane, that's the stuff that I enjoy and appreciate as well. Just taking that time to kind of disconnect, get lost in your head as opposed to lost in the phone or something else, turn off all the different stimulants in your life and just focus on that. So I mean, I'm a huge advocate for trail running. That's like I hardly ever run on paved ground or anything. And that's one of the things that I do love about Atlanta. There's an amazing trail system, literally 15 minutes from my house, 15 minutes from work, so I can get off work and be on a trail, you know, in the middle of nowhere within 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And so like that's where I
wow,
was yesterday. So imagine being out in the middle of the woods and you have a long stressful day. It's hard to let that sink into you too much when you're in the middle of the woods and you can't even see another person. You can't even see a road. You can't even see a house or another building. You know what I mean? Like it's just you and nature and just your thoughts. And in my case, it was me, nature, and God just having a conversation with him as I'm walking through that experience. And I remember,
mm,
yes, it was pretty cool because I saw a young buck. And so there are a good bit of deers out there, but you don't see a whole lot of bucks. And so I just saw a young buck out there and he was kind of sizing me up, you know what I mean? So we're about, only about 25, 20 feet away from each other. And I stopped running. He just looked at me. He stopped too. And we just kind of just stood there for a minute, just checking each other out. So I mean, it's just cool, what I'm saying? Unique experiences like that that aren't very common for people like us. But again, people that may have no idea that exists, you literally live 2 miles from this. You know what I'm saying? And that's the
right,
crazy thing to me about it. It's like, granted, that's not the case in every city. And that is one of the issues that I don't think we did talk about, but you're asking, why people don't have that stuff. But it's not only exposure, it's also access. You know what I
mm,
mean? So having somebody to drive you to a trail or the woods or something like that, that's a whole other thing. You know what I mean? I was fortunate that I grew up with a park across the street from my house. It's a pretty regular park. They had, baseball fields, soccer fields, basketball court, that type of stuff. A regular park by any standard, but they did have like patches of woods, patches of trails. And like there's
right,
literally a trail that may be a quarter mile long, if that, but it was through the woods. And that was one of my favorite things about that park was kind of hanging out there. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
there's a lot of different factors, but I mean, for me, just kind of just being able to connect to the outdoors and just having that time to kind of to be free and just to just be in that space without any distraction. I usually leave my phone in my car. I don't necessarily want to recommend that to anybody that is going to be getting out on trails and stuff like that for the first time because you do got to be safe and what if you slip and break your leg or something like that. You do need to have access to safety. So you can still
right.
have your phone and put it on, on silent or something like that. But it's a good time to kind of disconnect from everything for a little bit.
Yeah, and kind of get in touch with yourself and your surroundings, and it can be a very powerful experience, bro. I definitely see what you're saying with that. And for those city folks out there who might not be familiar with what a buck is, what's a buck, Jermaine?
So a buck is just a male deer. And so, you can tell they're young because they have the small horns, these a little fuzzy and stuff like that. I think this one, like his horns, maybe, because I know a lot of people count him by the points. I couldn't even tell how many points were on him, but they weren't too many. But he's pretty young. I mean, but at the same time, he's still standing about, 4 foot tall, probably still a good couple 100 pounds. You know what I mean? So they're decent sized animals. But yeah, a male deer is
Okay.
basically what.
Yeah. I'm with you. I was aware that we might be the only two who's with that if you ain't from the country.
Yeah,
Um, and it's opportunity for everybody to learn. So I appreciate it, bro. But yeah, being out in the outdoors is powerful. And I think actually as we become more involved with technology, I think people are gravitating more towards these activities where, they shut their phones off. They, even changing, the color temperature of your screen, people are intrinsically realizing that it might be overloaded at some point. So I think you're going to see more nature retreats, more people seeking the outdoors and all the benefits that are out there, just because their day-to-day life is very much infused with all these distractions and stimuli like you mentioned.
and the funny thing is like the more I see people that kind of discover what the outdoors have to offer, the more they become advocates and fans of it. I think that's, once you take that first step and you get a taste of it for yourself, it kind of just sparks something. I took one of my new, I guess, coworkers slash employees slash friends. I took him out on our night hike last night. So we do like a weekly night hike, which is pretty cool. And, just brought him out there. He's like, man, I want to check out some trails. I haven't been on a lot of trails. I'm like, hey, we're going out tonight, come out with us. And so, yeah, just exposing people to that kind of stuff. It's like, he already told me he wants to come back. You know what I mean? So once you kind of see it and experience it, you want to get more because you see the benefits of it.
For sure. And I mean, nature is the ultimate. I mean, that's the ultimate landscape. And a lot of us, we're in our phones. We love to look at pictures, but a lot of people don't recognize that even just a photograph is virtual reality in some level. The technology is only so good. It can represent those colors, those, it can represent a sunset only as good as your filter is, your lens is on your camera. It can be absolutely, it can stun you to tears to see a beautiful sunset, at the top of a peak or, out on the trail like that. And I think the more people that engage with that, they'll be like your coworker. They'll be like, yo, I got to get back. When's the next hike? How can we do this more often?
Definitely. And, truthfully, that's one of the biggest things for me that kind of, I don't want to say it's discouraging, but one of the things that I hate least about traveling and experiencing these different things is that I know that what am able to share with people, what I'm able to bring back from those experiences is only a fraction of what it truly was. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So whether you're looking at stars in the sky, I remember I was in Arizona one time and, a friend of mine let me borrow his motorcycle the middle of the desert, middle of nowhere. Again, the sky is covered in stars, right? And
yeah.
I was just like, man, because the sun was setting and it was just perfect. And then it kind of just transitioned to night and it's perfect thing. I'm out there in the middle of nowhere by myself. And again, the sky was covered in stars. And I'm like, man, this is like too perfect. You try to take a picture and literally it's just black. You know what I'm saying? You can try to explain to
Yeah.
people that you can see the Milky Way galaxy in the sky, but they're like, nah, that don't make no sense. I'm like, I'm telling you, I saw it. I can't show it to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's what it is.
That's real, bro. That's real. And yeah, there's a little bit of that remorse, that not regret, but just like, damn, if only you could be here right now. Because a lot of these trips that you're taking, bro, to the tops of these mountains, I say this a lot, when you adventure, when you travel, ultimately we all travel alone. And a lot of the stuff you do is you're isolated and you have these profound experiences that you benefit so deeply from. It's led you on this current path, but yet you can't share it with the people that are closest to you. They have to do it for themselves. And there's a little bit of, you get torn about that a little bit. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%, man. You hit the nail on the head with that. I did an interview last year, and someone asked me like, "What's been one of the biggest challenges?" And I'm like, honestly, it's traveling. Solo travel is great. It's amazing because you get to literally curate stuff the way that exactly how you want it. But at the same time, you do miss that companionship. You do miss being able to share, those rich experiences, the ones that truly move your soul and change your life. But you don't get to, if you're by yourself, you don't get to share it to that degree. And again, that's one of the things I liked about your podcast and what you're doing is the fact that I can talk more than 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever, and I can actually dive into certain things. You know what I mean? Because when you think about it, you come back. I went to Africa and I was there for a week, but I mean, I climbed a mountain. I went to countries that I'd never been to before, had experiences that I'd never seen before. And so when that comes back to connecting with your friends, your family, the reality is it's going to be boiled down to 10, 15-minute conversation at max. You know what I mean? You may
Right.
get a half an hour, you may get an hour with one person, but diving into the ins and outs of what was truly amazing about that trip. And I think that's one of the reasons that people that travel together have such a strong bond because you experience so many things together that you can't really quantify to anybody else that wasn't there with you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's one of the amazing things about it. But yeah, it definitely is a struggle when you're traveling solo, and you can't, have people in those positions with you to experience the same things that you experience.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's a vibe, it's an ambiance, it's a whole feeling. And bro, no worry, you are always welcome at the point. We'll do as many of these as we need to till you get this all off your chest, because some people don't realize that this show is as much for the listeners as it is for the guest. Because when you have these things, these profound things that that with a pure sense of empathy will help and heal people, bro, you want to be able to express them. It's not to talk about, make Jermaine big or make any of the other guests big, but it's just like, yo, this could really help you with where you're struggling. It's important to have a platform for adventurers and people who've seen things to share. I wholly believe in that.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you, man. I appreciate the invite. I'm definitely going to take you up on that. So hope you were serious about it, 'cause I'm going to be bugging you.
Hey, man, you got my number. You know how to reach me. Hey everybody, Kimono Jack back here again. No need for alarm, just a quick pause for the cause and a great opportunity to refill that refreshing beverage that I know you've been sipping on. So while you're headed back to the kitchen or to the cabinet, just wanted to let you all know that if you are in the travel or entrepreneurship space and are in need of a keynote speaker for your upcoming event, a guest for your own podcast, or if you want to create your own broadcast via podcasting, hit me up, drop me a line, kimonojack@pointnoirshow.com. Would love to connect with you over a quick call, hear what the needs are for your upcoming event, or hear about this new movement that you've been thinking about and trying to create. Listen, 2019 is going to be another big year for podcasting, and there's opportunity for everybody to succeed, but there are plenty of places to get hung up on because it is its own discipline, its own skill. And I would just love to help you get unstuck wherever you're at on the journey and share with you some of the approaches I've taken to bring the show to the level of success that it currently has today and will continue to see. So, kimonojack@pointnoirshow.com, KIMONOJACK @pointnoirshow.com. Would love to hear from you. And by this point, I'm guessing you're either still pouring or you've already overflowed that glass. So sorry for not saying stop. But your couch cushion's getting cold and the show is ready for you. So if you're ready, here we go, back into the session. But let's jump into travels, man. So when did you start traveling abroad? I'm thinking you probably did a lot of domestic travel within the States, right?
Yeah, I've been traveling domestically for a long time. Just kind of a lot of road trips. So my family, again, is from Atlanta. We're from, I was born in actually Charleston, South Carolina, but we live pretty much in Atlanta. And so, that was a very, regular trip going to South Carolina, going to Florida just because it's close. You know what I mean? So once you get older, once you get a car, you get a job, you get a little bit of gas money, and you're like, hey, let's drive to Florida or whatever. So a lot of domestic travel. My first international trip was actually, well, I guess let's be specific, was I went to the Bahamas on a cruise. And that was my first
Okay.
international experience. And for me, a
Okay.
lot of people, I was actually talking to a guy today. He's like, I don't count that. He was saying he didn't count that, not that I don't count it. And I was like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But for me, we rented some scooters. And that was the first time that I had been a place where you were driving on the opposite side of the road and you're dealing with a whole different set of rules and whatnot. So for me, that was my
Right.
first, kind of international experience and getting a feel of what that looked like, even though I didn't have a passport at the time. So that was that. But my first, real international trip was actually to India, and that was for a mission trip. So I actually got my passport specifically for the purpose of going on a short-term mission trip to India. And
Wow.
yeah, man, that trip blew my mind, man. Like India is one of my favorite places in the world. I actually have a 10-year visa right now. I have business partners in India now because of that trip, and I talk to people from India like literally every single day. And yeah, I plan to go there for the next 10 years, and once that visa expires, get another one to keep going. Like that's it's almost like a second home to me, man. I can't, a lot of that does have to do with the fact that it was my first, international experience, but it's just an amazing place, man.
That's incredible, bro. I haven't yet been to Asia. I'm not going to say I haven't had the opportunity, but I haven't been there yet. And I hear just India can be, I mean, all of the things overwhelming and intense and deeply profound. Like people go over to India and get shook.
Yeah, yeah. And the way I kind of summarize it, and I usually try to make sure that people know it's coming from a place of respect and not disrespect. But in India, you will walk around a corner and you will smell the worst smell you smell in your life. It'll make you want to cut your nose off. You'll be like, "What is this? I don't understand how something can be so foul." But
I
no,
don't
but look,
understand.
but then you'll get like 10 feet from that and you will smell some fragrance that you have never smelled before, and it's the most amazing thing ever. You know what I mean? And so that's
Yeah.
what India for me is. It's extremes, but you have extreme beauty, and you have, some extremes that aren't as beautiful. You know what I mean? But that's, to me, it represents a fullness of life, if that makes sense. And it's just, you don't get that rawness so much, kind of in the States or anywhere else for that matter. It's its own place.
Yeah, for sure. And people keep traveling there, and you hear these varied stories, but I'm deeply interested in India, and specifically the spiritual practices that occur there, and just how those vibes can kind of shift you. And has most of your international travel been focused around training, or you've had a mix between, how have or why have you traveled internationally? You mentioned mission work. I know you train. Is it varied? What are you doing when you travel?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question, man, because it's something that I'm really, I guess, kind of passionate about, if that makes sense. But basically, I don't, and it's gonna sound dumb, I don't consider myself a traveler, even though I travel as much as I do. I've never
Right.
been that person that sat down and was like, man, I just want to travel the world. I am very much an adventurer, and so I plan adventures, and that just so happens that I'm required to travel because of that. Right? Atlanta
Yes, sir.
doesn't have everything in the world here, so just by the nature of that, I have to travel other places to do certain things. I love snowboarding, therefore I go to Colorado, therefore I go to North Carolina, therefore I go to Canada. Right? I love scuba diving, therefore some of the best scuba diving in the world is all over the place. So Mexico, India, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So typically for me, traveling somewhere stems from a need to do X, Y, and Z activity. My faith is a huge part of my life. And so that's why, my first international trip was a mission trip, because I felt like God called me to go on that trip. And again, that was a life altering experience. And,
Right.
I've been on mission trips all over the world. I've been to, Indonesia, Panama, Haiti, in India. I've been in multiple mission trips on India. And so, that's a big part of why I travel as well. But again, for me, typically when I travel somewhere, it's because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I rarely just travel somewhere just for the sake of traveling. I have had those trips, and it's usually like with a group of friends or whatever. And, hey, we're just going to go check out this place and do this thing. But again, for me, bringing back in that concept of opportunity cost and realizing how big the world is, how much, how many different things are to experience. It's like, hey, do I go check out this one place for a week and scratch the surface of it? Or do I go back to this place that I know that I love and go even deeper because I know there's so much more to offer, right? So that's the mental battles and games I play with myself. It's like, man, all right, what do I want to do? You know what I mean? Like, do I want to go do X, Y, and Z? So, so yeah, so for me, it very much stems from the need to travel, stems from the need to explore and adventure in ways that I can't do at home.
Absolutely. And sitting back here, we're half a country apart, but I feel like I'm sharing a conversation with a true brother, because I mentioned being an adventurer often, and you have such a tightly woven narrative around where you go and why you go. And that's you sound like an adventurer, bro. Like I hear it. I hear it. It's there. Yeah, man, it's a treat.
People ask, like Jermaine, like, what do you just sit around and think about stuff? Yes, like that's
Yes.
that's where I'm at. Right, I'm 31 years old. I'm single, no kids. It's like, what else am I supposed to be doing? I'm working towards goals that are important to me, and doing those things. But at the same time, again, summit 413 and climb Mount Everest. That's a huge, again, passion project, right? So I'm combining my passion for adventure, but also my passion for serving others. That's why I was very intentional about the different charities that I partner with. So it's not, all for naught. It's not just going out and having fun, but that's where I'm at in life. I'm just, trying to maximize that and to, to do good and to be good at the same time, and try to find that perfect, line that I can balance. How can I have a positive impact in the world, but also how can I enjoy and live a fulfilling life right now? You know what I mean? And so that's for me. It's like, man, I know that I'm 31, and if I get a kid, in the next couple of years and a wife, we have to plan and change our lifestyle a little bit, right? So we're still going to travel and explore and do things, but
Right.
I'm sure I'm not going to go to 10 countries a year like I did last year. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not going to be a thing. I'm just not in that position financially. Maybe I will be in a couple of years, but just saying that's what it is now. So yeah, definitely, man. Just thinking about the next adventure.
That's real, man. And I just want to shout you out right quick for choosing charities that were close to home, because that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of times we look overseas, we see the need there. Whether I mean, even in something as simple as mission work, in every city where we're sending out missionaries, there's work in the city that also needs to be done. So shout out to you for choosing charities and people who are in need right within the borders of Atlanta, because sometimes I feel they get overlooked, because it's always exciting to travel somewhere and do work you can do in your own backyard.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. And we can, have a deep conversation about that on another day because we can talk about that for hours, man. But yeah, with this particular project, I want to bring it home and benefit people that that we come across on a daily basis, and not just walk past them to go to somebody else. But yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time picking and praying about the different charities that I want to benefit through Summit 413 and climb Mount Everest, and so I'm really grateful. And it's crazy, and we can talk about this later. I won't take too much time on it, but in one day, so Monday, like literally, it was like a full circle of why each one of these charities mattered, right? So I had a friend, or my mother's coworker actually, his son died, who's a teenage son. He's a pretty young guy. He died from cancer, right?
Mm,
And then I had another case, and I can't remember specific. Oh, I went to an event for one of the charities that I'm working with, and there was a woman giving a testimony about how she got rescued out of human trafficking, right? And then there was
wow.
another one, a kid that I mentor here in Atlanta. He's actually living in Florida right now. He's in college, but he was telling me, he's like, man, I got a job, and I'm just thankful that I don't have to sell drugs right now because I was really tempted to, do what I had to do to make ends meet. And so the different charities that I partnered with basically hit all those different needs. But for me, it was crazy that I just got reminded of that all in one day. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to
Yeah.
pick an issue and say, yeah, this is the thing. But when you can feel it in your own life, and especially that close together, it's just crazy. So yeah, I'm definitely uh, glad and optimistic about being able to support those charities. And that's one of the things that has been a challenge of this whole project, is trying to raise more money towards the charities.
Right. Absolutely. And is real. It's in your reality. And again, shout out to you for putting energy, putting effort into it, and trying to create solutions, putting literally your body and life on the line to create solutions. Not everybody, not everybody seeks those opportunities, but then not everybody executes on them. So that's really putting the full force of your faith and intention and integrity behind your work. That's what's up, bro.
Appreciate that, man. Just trying to do my part.
Hey man, we all are. I love it, man. I love it in so many different ways. We each have our different avenues that we serve best. Cause sure as hell, I'm not climbing Everest by March.
I feel you.
Um,
I don't recommend it. Not unless you have
nope.
to.
Yeah, I'll catch you on the interview on the way down though, my guy. But yeah, just it's not on my path right now. um, but speaking of travel, I know you get a lot out of being outdoors, and that's I mean that's a whole another two podcasts about what I mean. Damn, there's so much in being outdoors. But I'm curious to see if there's a difference of what traveling internationally and experiencing different cultures and peoples and ideologies, if that has added something different to you than just simply not just simply, but also being outdoors. Like, did you notice extra benefit to your life from traveling internationally?
Oh yeah, man. That's one of those things that's almost impossible to put a grasp on the value that has. But I mean, that's a huge part of it, right? So I mean, even if you're doing a similar activity, even if you're going and climbing a mountain, the way that it happens in India versus France versus Africa, it's entirely different, right? So the one thing
Right.
I do like about interjecting something like the outdoors or a specific activity like scuba diving, you have that constant, but you get to see how other societies, how other cultures view that. So the same thing, in religion and doing a mission trip, right? If you go to a different country, I am the same, but the people that are there are different. How they receive me and how they receive my faith, or how they interact and live out their faith, may be completely different. So that's one of the cool things about having certain constants, such as religion or an outdoor component to interact with the culture, right? Because a lot of places are, they're super culture rich in the sense that, you can go to Atlanta and I can go to a certain part of the city. And if I only go to that part of the city, I won't get the full effect of what it is to be in Atlanta, right? So if you
Hmm.
play that game when you go somewhere, it's really hard to understand all the different variances that there are from people that live in a given place. So I do like having those constants because you kind of get to tap into it. But yeah, man, the culture for me is a big thing, man. I've had some dream experiences, man. I remember I was in India one night on a scuba diving trip, and I was staying at this hut. All right, it's in the middle of nowhere. Actually, there was a missionary that died on these islands recently. That was pretty that was in the news pretty big the end of last year. And I was actually on
Right.
those islands, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And wasn't a lot of people there. It was the off season, so I mean, literally, this island has one road that's like 6 kilometers, and that's it. And just hanging out at this kind of resort. I'm doing quotes right now with my fingers, but you can't see it. But you got
Right.
little huts, right? And you're in the middle of nowhere. It's India, and it's a really cool place. And we're scuba diving, and they have a restaurant there. And at the end of that night, the restaurant's closing down. There's some people hanging out. So basically, everybody just kind of got together. So it was me, two girls from India, two guys from India. There was a couple from France, and there was another couple. I think one couple's from the U.S. and there's another person from somewhere else, like maybe Germany or something, right? And so just being able to we stayed out there all night long, playing games or whatever, and just chilling, and they were having drinks, whatever, just talking about life and everything, you know what I mean? And so that being able to have those types of conversations from people from all walks of life, from all over the place, like, you can't, the stuff that you just learn about life, right? Because it's hard for us to look at life different from how we see it because we've had our worldview or whatever. So, just being
Hmm.
in a different culture just kind of just exposes you and opens up your mind to so much stuff. Like we think in such American terms, you know what I mean? And it takes getting completely removed outside of it to realize how much different, the world could be. And, I can give you a million different examples, but it's just crazy. Like I like seeing the little things in culture too. So the way a trash can looks, or the way a dumpster looks, or maybe a trash truck looks versus in France or India, in Africa. You know what I mean? Because we all have the same basic needs, right? We all have to eat. So what does food look like here
Right.
versus there? You know what I mean? Like what do they eat for breakfast? All those different things. So to me, it is fun to kind of tap into that part of culture and really find out what it's like to live and to be like the people that are there. And I do try to intentionally seek out those opportunities to have a more authentic experience. That's one of the things I really appreciate about things like Uber or Airbnb, because you can choose to pick a home that has a family that's actually living there. It's not just a vacant place, and so then you can
Right.
have a conversation like, man, what is this city like for you? It's like, I know what Google said about it, but what do you say about it, right? What's your favorite restaurant, as opposed to what Yelp says, right? So yeah, culture, man, it's a huge thing, a huge part of traveling. Something I definitely enjoy, man. It adds so much value to your life.
Absolutely. And I can definitely imagine that these experiences are so rich for you, not only pushing your cultural knowledge and exposure, but also the spiritual boundaries that I imagine you're pushing by engaging in mission work and then being in the outdoors, just pushing your physical boundaries. These have to be very dense moments of just realization and self discovery.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's almost overwhelming, man, because it's such a powerful thing. And I always try to encourage people just to kind of get out there and try stuff. And in today's day and age, man, you know, I don't want to say it's not an excuse because there definitely isn't, are valid reasons why you can and cannot travel. And I do understand that. But, I just want to encourage your listeners, if you haven't, even been on an airplane or something like that, try to, do whatever you can to make that happen. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do to take a $60 flight somewhere. I mean, you can fly my ticket to Vancouver, which again from Atlanta to Vancouver, that's the other side of the continent basically. That was like $200 round trip, right? And so again, $200 may seem like a
Wow.
lot of money, but again, plan, save, have your travel fund, have your emergency fund first. But then have your travel fund you can tap into. Have your travel fund you can tap into when you see a good deal. And have a friend that can go with you, or once you get a little bit more travel experience on your belt, like what, I'm gonna bite the bullet and go by myself. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it definitely you have to kind of just make it happen, make
Yeah.
it
And
happen.
if you don't have a passport, if you don't have a damn passport, and you're a man of color, you know who's hooking you up. That's the Point Noir podcast. Like, damn it, just
Yeah.
do it. But yeah, travel, it's going to benefit you, and I think that's one thing I'm going to keep pressing in the show is that men of color, people of color, have so much to offer the world, and the world has so much to offer in return, and that's going to be one of our little taglines because I don't think you get to where you are without these experiences, without having this richness of experience, without cultivating your identity so well that you can just be live on the spot with this tightly woven narrative of who you are and how you show up in the world.
And just to throw us in there real quick too, man. Not only is traveling a benefit for you, but it's a benefit for other black people and other brown people around the world, man. I can't tell you, you know, it's been way too many times that I've met somebody that has not met another black person. and all they
Mm.
have is a perception from what they see on the internet, on the news, or whatever that case may be. So if you're in a country and your only perception of a black person is that thug that you saw in all those movies that have black people in it, that's it. You know what I'm saying? So by you just being a regular guy and going and
Yeah.
meeting somebody and they get to experience that, you completely change the dynamic of how people view black people in general. And to me, that's crazy that
Yes.
people, but again, you can't blame somebody for that, right? We have certain viewpoints and perspectives on people from other places in the world because we haven't seen it. And all we get is what is available. So again, if you only see somebody as a thug and that's all they've ever seen a black person to be, they have no other connection, no other point of reference, no other association to that other than how it was given to them. So by you going out there and just being you, being a good, genuine person, you're helping the world, you're helping people progress in the world and how people view and treat, black people. So I think that's an important thing to do. So again, yeah, it's a great benefit for you, but it's also a benefit of others. Just by you going out and enjoying yourself in a positive way, you have an impact on the world in a positive way. And to me, that's a crazy thing. Like you didn't have to do anything good. You just got be good and people and you'll benefit people through that.
Absolutely, being regular schmegular, heading out to Thailand or wherever, like you deserve to make your own presentation and introduction to the world. And some people might listen to everything you shared and say, "Well, what about them traveling to the States?" No, you speak you speak the language of commerce in the world right now. You speak English if you're listening to this podcast. You have one of the most powerful passports in the world. You deserve to make your own introduction to the world. Don't let the media, don't let music, don't let, social trends do it for you. You can do that and you can literally change someone's life. Wow, yeah, we can definitely do another four. I already feel it, bro. This is we
Yeah, definitely. I'm
this
gonna
is
be a
great,
regular
man.
on here, man. Be regular.
Come through, man, because any way to support would be super helpful. And we mentioned flipping back about intentionality and that sort of stuff. But because we're coming up on time, I want to know real quick for those who might be interested in the outdoors, can you tell me how people can, what's the most basic thing that people can do to engage in the outdoors? They hear your story, they say, man, I just want a taste of this, but I'm not sure. I know Jermaine's not coming to my neighborhood anytime soon to take me to the nearest trail. How can someone take a baby step towards becoming more integrated to being an adventurer, to becoming an outdoors man or woman?
hmm Yeah. So I would say the simplest thing. It's gonna sound counterintuitive, but get on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about getting out there, get on a computer for a couple minutes. Just sit down, Google some stuff. Use your cell phone, just Google what's around you, and then like that'll
Yeah.
be the quickest thing, right? And then use whether there's a REI store or whatever. I feel like, and this could be incorrect on my part, but I feel like if you're in a place where you don't have access to a lot of I guess chain stores like McDonald's or Walmart or REI and stuff like that, then you're probably
Right.
going to be already pretty close to the outdoors. So that information may not apply to you. But if you, yeah, so if you're in a city and you have access to those regular places like Target or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, look for an REI because they're pretty popular nowadays. Look for those types of stores, and if you want to go into that store and talk to somebody there, they're really helpful, even without selling anything. You know what I mean? You can just have conversations with people that are in that space, and that'll help you kind of more so understand what it requires to be in the outdoors. But I would say start small. You know what I mean? So again, just Google, hop on your phone. There's a lot of different apps. There's a million of them. So find some different trail apps or whatever the case may be, and find something that's driving distance from where you are, driving distance, train distance, whatever. Get yourself some comfortable shoes. You know, take a Saturday morning or whatever day you're off, and just plan a trip. Say, hey, I'm going this place. Make sure you do it safe and be smart. Don't go to some expert level trail of climbing or whatever on your first outdoor experience. You know what I mean? Don't
Right.
set yourself up for failure. But yeah, find something that's close to you and just say, I'm gonna go do it, go enjoy it. It'll be a learning experience. That's the part about adventure. It's not always easy, but the stuff that comes out of it is what's amazing about it, right? So just go and do it, and then while you're there, realize what you don't learn and understand what you don't learn. If you try to play that game on the front end and say, hey, I'm not qualified to do X, Y, and Z, you can always play that game and you'll never go do it, right? I knew I wasn't qualified to climb Mount Everest when I said I was going to do it last year, right? But I had to then go out into the mountain environment and then learn and take courses to get myself to be in that position to do it, right? So take that same approach, just on a smaller scale, and just find a trail, find something close by, look to see if there's a waterfall or, national woods. Look up the national parks in your state, see what's close, see what's the driving distance. And I'm trying to think of different barriers for people. I'm not trying to, you know, so whatever that barrier is, find a way around it. If it's, funding, which I feel like could be one of them. If it's, other commitments, so say family or time, just try to figure out whatever that big hurdle is and try to find a way around that. So if you have to plan 6 months in advance to take off one Saturday to go hike on some trail that's an hour away, do what you got to do.
Right.
Put aside $5, $10 a week, get yourself some gas, get a friend or two that wants to go with you, get a car, ride up there, and go on that walk. And then once you're there, you'll learn from it and you'll enjoy it. And you'll come back and do it again.
No, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And if I could add maybe one thing to it to keep it super simple, definitely do your research, guys, because there are going to be advertised, parks or attractions in whatever city nearby. There's going to be something, even if it's Central Park. Everybody knows about that, and that's basically the outdoors. So, start there if that's what it takes. But bring comfy shoes, bring a flashlight, and if you can, bring a friend. And I think you'll be okay in whatever situation you're in. You'll be safe. You'll have your flashlight and you've done your research. And the people at the REI stores, that was a great suggestion, bro, because outdoors people fucking love the outdoors. They want to talk about
Yeah.
that shit all day. That's why they work at REI. So the fact that you even show a little bit of interest, they're gonna latch on to that. You might even be like, yo, bro, you're talking too much. I just needed like three things. But the culture of outdoors people, I found there's not a lot of snobbery. It's not a lot of elitism. It's people who are just generally just good people in the core of their souls. They're just nice people.
The woods will do that to you, man. It's hard to be
Go
mad.
into the woods.
It's
You'll be
hard to
less
be
of an
mad.
asshole.
Yeah, it's hard to be mad. You're sitting there staring at Bambi in the face for a little. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna be mad at that? You got the rivers flowing. Like, you're literally in the place that they make the calm music. When you go to the dentist and they're playing that calming music for you before they start drilling your mouth, you're hearing those same sounds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to not be relaxed in that environment. It's like, we're trying to tell y'all something.
That's so true.
You ain't outside, go get outside. Bottom line.
Yeah, that's so
Then
true.
come on the podcast.
Exactly. Tell me what you saw. Tell me what you experienced. Like hit us up on the IG. Bro, this has been great. This time has flown by, so we're definitely going to have to do this again. And before we even get to your upcoming trips, I wish you the best of luck, man. This has
Great.
been great, and somehow or another, I need to get to Atlanta, get one of these nighttime hikes with you. And I might be in the area soon, so we're going to work that out. But
Yeah.
as we round out the end of this interview, man, I want to know what you have coming up. Even if you said it before, say it again. What trips are coming up for you, and how can we find out more about you, stay in touch, and support? What's going on with you?
Yeah. So in the short term, I leave on February 12th, going to Argentina to climb Aconcagua. That's the highest peak outside of the Himalaya, which is in Asia. So it's the highest mountain outside of Asia. And I'll be there. I think that climb is slated to be like 16 or 17 days. And I'll be in the country of Argentina for about 20 days. I'm also going to visit a friend that manages an orphanage down there. Actually, a few friends down there because I've been before. So I get to visit all them, get to
Wow.
climb this mountain. It's going to be crazy. I think it's like negative 40 degrees in the summer right now, which isn't that crazy considering how the weather in the States is right now. But we can have all the conversation
Right.
about how elevation affects the temperature and how it feels. But yes, that's what's coming up in the short term. And then God willing, a month after I get back, so the end of March and the beginning of April time frame is when I leave for Mount Everest. So that's what's on the list right now. And I may squeeze in another short training trip out west in the states to do some ice climbing or another skills course or something like that. But what's on my agenda again is Aconcagua in February, and then Everest, the start of that, and then beginning of April. And if you want to follow along, I'll be honest, I am terrible at keeping up with social media and posting stuff on there. But if you're interested, if people tell me that they're actually interested, I will post some more stuff, man. I literally have 1,000 photos that I have not posted from like trips from since August of last year. I still have stuff I haven't posted from. So I have all that stuff.
Yeah.
Bug me about it. Send me a DM, follow me on Facebook. On Instagram, it's at Summit413. That's SUMMIT 413. Definitely follow me, check me out. And then same thing on Facebook. And my personal page is Jermaine Middleton if you want to follow that too. So, but yeah, I got a lot of stuff so you can follow along. And yeah, eventually I'll get to doing some YouTube videos. I've just been collecting content And hopefully I'll be able to share that with you guys at some point.
That's what's up, bro. And what if we want to support some of the charities that are helping you with all this?
Yeah, definitely appreciate you bringing that up, man. So yeah, if you want to support, which we definitely need your support. So 100% of the proceeds exceeding the cost of climbing Everest. So if you know any, business owners involved like that would be interesting in being a corporate sponsor for Summit 413, have them hit me up. You can email me directly at info@summit413.com, or you can just go to the website, which is www.summit413.com. You can there's multiple ways you can contact me on the website. So email me, connect me on the website, connect me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Just make sure it happens, right? So info at SUMMIT 413. And there's also a link directly to the GoFundMe page that I've set up on on my website. And I think you can also get to that same link through my Instagram page as well. And so definitely go check that out and support. I've been very grateful so far, man, when I had this vision, and I've had $40,000 raised, a little bit more than $40,000 raised so far.
Wow.
That's people trying to help me get to the top of this mountain, and people also trying to benefit the charities. And so the ultimate goal is to raise more than $250,000. So excited for the next few months that's going to blow up. I'm just speaking that to existence now, but definitely be a part of that. You know what I mean? Think about the fact that, and I love supporting people through different charities. You know what I mean? So for me, sending somebody $5, like that's the way to go. Right? I'm not asking anybody for $1 million. Like I want 1 million people to give $5 and see what the amazing things that happen when we come together for a cause. But yeah, so I mean, imagine being a part of that and seeing a post from me or seeing me in a magazine or something. Yeah, man, I actually helped donate to help that guy get there, right? Or seeing the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta come up with a cure for cancer or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I've donated some money. You know what I mean? To me, that's the cool part about seeing your hard work and your good intent at work.
Yeah, for real, man. And you've definitely got the support of Point Noir, Kimono Jack, myself. We got you. We'll talk about it afterwards. But yeah, man, that's what an opportunity. And I feel like everybody, even listening this far into the podcast, they, whether they're able to show it or not, you've got their support. So I hope that's something, man, as you safely ascend this epic mountain, both of them, and make it back down to tell us about it, man. I'm looking forward to your return to the show, and I think everybody else is too.
For sure, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for doing what you do. We're making the world a better place and having a positive impact.
Man, it's possible because people like you say yes and answer my damn DMs. Like, definitely side eye at Barack Obama. Like, answer my damn messages, dude.
Spike Lee,
I'm
man, do a
kidding.
documentary on this thing, man. Spike Lee, do a documentary on this. But yeah, I'm with you, man.
One day, bro. One day. Step by step. But dude, we're gonna sign off for now. Jermaine, thank you so much for your time, your energy. Wish you the safest of travels, and not even luck, man, because you're trained, you're prepared for this, man. I can feel it. So looking forward to you next time. Hang with us at the point. But until then, man, we'll see you next time.
All right. Same to you, man. Take it easy.
Summit 413 is the name of the project. Mount freaking Everest is the goal. You're up to big things, brother. Thank you so much, Jermaine, for spending time with us on the show so we can learn about your progress through this journey and so that we can learn more about how to support you. If you want to donate or learn more about the project, summit413.com is the website. And if you got big money or no money, hit them up, info@summit413.com. Because here's the thing, just sending a word of encouragement, I bet, goes a long way. And it'll be great if the Point Noir family, the Point Noir Nation, could just mess up his inbox. Like, I want him to miss his car payment because so many positive messages are coming into his inbox of just words of encouragement and support. Listen, nobody asks him to do this, but when history is made, we'll be glad he did, because it's trailblazers like this that give us something to aspire to, that light that fire of not only inspiration, but just, wow, we can do anything. And we'll be grateful that he did. So yeah, be a part of that journey. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And when it gets cold up there on Everest, he'll be like, damn, this Point Noir family loves me. You know what I'm saying? So again, shout out to you, Jermaine. Best and safest of travels in your adventures. There you go, y'all. This was a pretty interesting session. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of it. We're always finding new and interesting guests. No story is too big or too small. And our goal is consistency and sponsoring these passports. So if you guys keep tuning in every week, sharing sessions like you have been, the comments that come in from my DMs are like, they just don't go unnoticed. They are super appreciated. It's super encouraging, and we're going to keep going as long as we can. So as always, this is Jerry the Third, aka the one and only Kimono Jack. Hope to see you guys in Dallas this week, and if not, we'll catch you on next week's session. Take care, y'all. Peace.